So hi, good afternoon. Audible at the back side? So now, first of all, what we completed yesterday, okay? We started with the Maratha episode, okay? And then after, we talked about in that episode how the dispute between Tarabai and Sahu was settled, and then after the rise of the Peshwa, so Balaji Vishwanath, and then Bajirao first, and then Balaji Bajirao. So these three we have mentioned, and Panipat battle we have mentioned. So we are at a juncture where we need to further complete the part of the Marathas, and then after look at the Punjab also. And today itself we'll be starting the administration under the British East India Company, whereby we will start with the acts which were there in between 1770 to 1853. Okay? So though it will not be complete today, but today we will start. So just listen. After the battle of the Panipat, okay? So after the battle of Panipat, the position of the Marathas was becoming precarious, but they were industrious people, they were hard-working people, and they knew that how to rebuild then, and whatever that has happened will not affect them in rebuilding. So within 10 years, they have rebuilded their fortunes and their glory. But this rebuilding of the fortune and their glory was possible due to three important pillars of the Maratha administration, and apart from the three important pillars, there are 12 administrators. So these three important pillars, first the Peshwa himself, Peshwa Madhav Rao, okay, who was appointed in 1761 and there till 1772. So Peshwa Madhav Rao, then one of the very acclaimed person of that time, his name was Nana Fadnis, okay, and then comes Mahatji Scindia, okay. So these were the important pillars of the reconstruction, okay. Now they are trying to restore their glory, and moreover they have also taken revenge and their territories from the many other Indian people, for example Jats, okay. So they have taken back their territories from or defeated them. Then in 1772, when the death of the Madhav Rao happened, okay. So after his death, Narayan Rao was appointed as the next Peshwa. We will write this, but just listen. So he was appointed next Peshwa, but within a year only, his uncle assassinated him, okay? His uncle Raghunath Rao. So this was happening for the first time, that in the Maratha house, the person from their own brethren, they have killed their own brethren. Then, so meaning that a person from the family, he is killing the member, his own royal member family. So first time. Then 1773 to 74, it was Raghunath Rao who was the Peshwa. He himself declared that he is the Peshwa. But in Maratha politics by this time, 12 administrators were very important, and these 12 administrators included Nana Fadnis and Mahatji Scindia. But others were also there, from the Holkar house, from the Scindia house, from the Gaikwad house. So there were total 12 administrators. They decided that they will depose Raghunath Rao from the power. Okay? They deposed Raghunath Rao from the power and appointed minor son of Narayan Rao, Savai Madhav Rao, as the next Peshwa. Minor means that he was a small children. Then now Savai Madhav Rao was kept under the regency of the Nana Fadnis. But frustrated Raghunath Rao, who was deposed from the power, he fled to British. Okay? He fled to British in the Bombay unit, and there he signed a secret treaty with the Britishers. So this secret treaty is known as the Treaty of Surat. And as per this secret treaty, he mentioned to the Britishers, or basically promised to the Britishers, that they would be given Salseet, Bassein and Bharuch. Okay? So Salseet, Bassein and Bharuch. And then one more part, that in return of, if they are helping him to be elevated as the emperor, Peshwa, sorry. So Peshwa. So this was the agreement between the two, and British were waiting, okay, that there must be some sort of opportunity to initiate the battle, okay, because just because of this secret treaty they cannot initiate the battle. There must be something against them. So they waited for that, and that opportunity came in 1775. We'll talk about that. First you write Peshwa Madhav Rao. Peshwa Madhav Rao. And tenure you can mention 1761 to 72. And in this you write Marathas restored their fortunes. Marathas restored their fortunes. Within a short span of time. Within a short span of time. Full stop. The resurrection of Maratha. The resurrection of Marathas was possible. The resurrection of Maratha was possible due to three important pillars. Due to three important pillars. That is, so number one, you write Peshwa Madhav Rao. Peshwa Madhav Rao. Number two, Nana Fadnis. And then Mahatji Scindia. Mahatji Scindia. Full stop. Then you write apart from them, the 12 administrators were also important in Maratha restoration, Maratha glory restoration. Maratha glory restoration. Glory restoration. ठीक है? Then mention after death of Madhav Rao. After death of Madhav Rao, Narayan Rao was appointed next Peshwa. You can write the timeline 1772 to 73. But he was assassinated by his uncle. Raghunath Rao. Who declared himself to be the next Peshwa. Next Peshwa. Full stop. At this time, the 12 administrators, including Nana Fadnis, and Mahatji Scindia. So whose name is this? Is the person is in class? Dorji Khandu Jebisaw. Anyone? Please raise your hand. So Mr. Online, please keep patience. Take care. Do you think that I am a C? That I have mentioned Fadnis and not Fadnavis? So keep a little bit of patience. I have seen your activism. Either I will block you completely. Okay? So have patience, and whatever I am writing, I am writing in full senses. I have not come from some bar or some pub. ठीक है? So write rather than writing on the response screen. You guys write. So what you have written? Fadnis or Mahatma Sindhya. Then you mention frustrated Raghunath Rao. Frustrated Raghunath Rao fled to the place of East India Company. Fled to the place of East India Company. हाँ हाँ हाँ, उसके बाद नहीं लिखा, ये स्टेटमेंट देने लगा ना मैं. ओ एट दिस टाइम, अच्छा तुम लोगों ने भी बोला नहीं, सहम गए सब लोग. एट दिस टाइम 12 एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स इंक्लूडिंग नाना फडणवीस एंड महाजी सिंधिया डिपोज्ड रघुनाथ राव. ऐड कर लो बस, डिपोज्ड, DE ऐड करो, डिपोज्ड रघुनाथ राव. Deposed Raghunath Rao. ठीक है? Then you write. Then you have mentioned frustrated Raghunath Rao fled to the place of British East India Company. ठीक है? He signed a separate agreement. He signed a separate agreement with British. Popularly known as Surat Treaty. Popularly known as Surat Treaty. Then, as per the treaty, he assured the area of Salsette, Bassein, and do you Salsette का spelling? ठीक है, I'll write. So just 1 minute. Bassein and Bharuch. Bharuch तो लिखो. Let me write this one. Salsette, Bassein and Bharuch. In return of Peshwaship. ठीक है? In return of Peshwaship, meaning that if they support him to become the Peshwa, so then only they would be given these all places. ठीक है? कोई बात नहीं. So next listen. So meanwhile what has happened? Just listen. So meanwhile somebody, that a minor person, Savai Madhav Rao, and the word Savai which we are using here, it means 1 1/4. ठीक है? So more than one. ठीक है? So Savai Madhav Rao was appointed as the next Peshwa. He was minor and he was under the regency of the Nana Fadnis. So Nana Fadnis, basically he is taking all the decisions at this point of time. ठीक है? So all the decisions at this point of time. So now what happened? That Nana Fadnis took a decision. This is the same time when the American War of Independence is going on, and we talked this episode in the Mysore also. So here also that Nana Fadnis granted access to some of the ports of the western side to the French people. Okay? So this was objected by the British, that why the French are given this kind of permission. So they objected and they replied by sending their force towards Pune. Okay? So sending their force towards Pune, and in Pune they were thoroughly defeated. Okay? So in Pune they were thoroughly defeated, and moreover after this, basically Mahatma Sindhya, who was leading the army at this point of time, so they were defeated. Till 1779, British were defeated at many places. This is Talegaon and Vadgaon, which all places he defeated. But what happened? 1780, the Governor General of the West Bengal, Bengal basically, ठीक है, Warren Hastings. So Warren Hastings, he decided to enter into the war, and then when he entered into the war, so he defeated Maharji Sindhya at 2-3 places. So now the score was leveled, ठीक है. First Maharji Sindhya victorious, and then Cornwallis. So finally it ended with the first Anglo-Maratha war. It ended with the Treaty of Salbai. So just listen what were the terms and conditions, that what were the agreements in the Treaty of Salbai. So as per the Treaty of Salbai, Salseet and Bharuch was restored with the British. Okay? So Salseet, Bharuch restored to the British, and then Bassein was restored to the Marathas. Okay? This is one part. Then Marathas gave assurance to the British that they will not allow French to create any settlement in their area. Then they also assured that in future that they will be on the side of the British when fight happens with the Mysore, okay? And they will take back the territories in the Carnatic, and that's how they have supported the British from this time onwards. Then another thing that Maratha request was that British pensioner Raghunath Rao, okay? Raghunath Rao has accepted this. So British pensioner Raghunath Rao or British protege Raghunath Rao, he must be pensioned off, okay? So he must be pensioned off, which British accepted. And moreover, British also recognized the claim of Maharji Sindhya west of river Yamuna, meaning that whichever areas were claimed by Maharji Sindhya, so they recognized. So this Treaty of Salbai, it resulted into relative peace for 20 years, okay? So relative peace for 20 years, and we are calling it relative because पीछे के टाइम पे that there were so many hiccups, ठीक है? So that kind of hiccups are not there, but both the parties know that there are challenges, ठीक है? So there are challenges. So relative peace happened, and then finally in 1795, listen this very carefully, that in 1795, once again in the history of the Maratha, it was also the first event that nobody from the royal blood, they have committed suicide. In 1795, Savai Madhav Rao, he committed suicide due to high-handedness of the Nana Fadnis. Okay? So when he has come to power, 1774, and by this time 1795, suppose that if he was just 2 or 3 years old in 1773, so 1774, so by this time he is 23, 24 years old. So whenever he was trying to take any decision or giving any suggestion, so he was always reprimanded by the Nana Fadnis that you are still a child. Okay? So he was often said that you are still a child, you are still a child. And he was so frustrated with this that despite he being the Peshwa, he is not able to take any decision. So he committed suicide. Okay? This was a kind of alarming situation for the Marathas also, for Nana Fadnis also. And then after, in 1795, the person who was appointed to the throne was Bajirao II. We'll talk about him later. So first you write. What is the last line that you have written? No. रुको. एक मिनट, let me see. Okay. ठीक है. So अभी लिखो. You can write a heading, Peshwa Savai Madhav Rao. Peshwa Savai Madhav Rao. And in this you write, after deposing Raghunath Rao, minor son of Narayan Rao, Savai Madhav Rao was appointed. Savai Madhav Rao was appointed next Peshwa. Savai Madhav Rao was appointed next Peshwa. Under the regency of Nana Fadnis. Then you mention, change paragraph, change करके लिखो, ठीक है? Meanwhile, Nana Fadnis, Meanwhile, Nana Ferdinand granted permission to the French permission to the French to create a settlement on the western coast western coast. British objected to it. Which led to the beginning of First Anglo-Maratha War. So you can write it as a title, First Anglo-Maratha War. 1775 to 82. 1775 to 82. So mention British replied by sending their force towards Pune. ठीक है. Marathas were led by Mahatji Scindia. Then mention Mahatji Scindia, who thoroughly defeated British at Talegaon, you can see spelling, and Vadgaon. Talegaon and Vadgaon. Then, but later, in 1780, Bengal Governor General Warren Hastings entered into the war. And defeated Mahatji Scindia. Full stop. Then you write, the war ended with Treaty of Salbai. The war ended with Treaty of Salbai in 1782. Treaty of Salbai in 1782. So mention the terms of the Salbai. So first you write, Salsette and Bharuch was restored. To British, and Bassein to Maratha. ठीक है, Bassein to Maratha. Then next you write, next point, Maratha assured that French will not be allowed to create any settlement. In Maratha area. Maratha area. Third, Maratha also promised that in future they will support British against Hyder Ali. They will support British or against Mysore likho, because Hyder Ali is already died. So against Mysore and take back the territories in Carnatic. Territories in the Carnatic. Number 4, British accepted that they will pension off OFF, ठीक है, pension of their protege Raghunath Rao. Then next you write, British recognized claims of Mahatma Sindhya. British recognized claims of Mahatma Sindhya west of river Yamuna. Basically the area of the Betwa, Kane, Gwalior, ठीक है? So these all places, which actually is the area of the Sindhyas, ठीक है? So this was the Treaty of Salbai. एक last line लिख लो, that Treaty of Salbai, it's just a conclusion, ठीक है? So Treaty of Salbai resulted into 20 year of relative peace. 20 year of relative peace between Maratha and English. So now we are at the important juncture where I think we have not talked about the subsidiary alliance system. Okay? So just listen to that. So how it unfolded. Just listen to the story. Just listen. Okay? Just listen. So how it unfolded. So that 1795, Savai Madhav Rao committed suicide, and then there must be appointment of the next Peshwa. Okay? So the next Peshwa who is appointed is the Baji Rao II. Okay? And who was Baji Rao II? He was the son of the Raghunath Rao. Okay? So son of Raghunath Rao. And many times we say that like father, like son. Sometimes it is not correct and sometimes it is very correct. But in this case, some of the traits and basically those negative traits of the Raghunath Rao was very much there in the Baji Rao II. Okay? So when he came to power, so initially he was under the control of these administrators. And he wanted to get rid of the control. Okay? And particularly Nana Fadnis. Death of Nana Fadnis happened in 1800, okay? And then there was a free regime of the Baji Rao II. But the problem started to happen from this point of time, because Sindhyas and Holkars, they were the two most important, most powerful people in the Maratha Confederacy. So now Holkars did not wanted Baji Rao II to be the Peshwa, okay? So they did not wanted to support him as a Peshwa. On the other hand, Sindhyas declared that they would be supporting the Peshwa. Okay? So at this end, what happened that when this was made very clear, so Peshwa, he did the cold-blooded murder of the Vithoji Rao Holkar. Okay? So the person who was the main person from the Holkar family. So when he was assassinated, so after that, his younger brother Yaswant Rao Holkar, he decided to take revenge. And then Yaswant Rao Holkar, from with all his forces, he marched to the city of Pune, and he defeated Sindhyas, who were safeguarding the Peshwa. But listen, by this time the Sindhyas have changed. There is no more Mahatma Sindhya. He is dead. Okay? So the second generation, okay, is there. So they were thoroughly defeated and terrified Peshwa. Okay? he fled to the Bombay. Once again, his father also fled to the British and he also fled to the place of the British. So he fled to the Bombay and he signed Treaty of Bassein with the British, which was nothing but subsidiary alliance system. Okay? So it was that let's look at the terms and conditions of the subsidiary alliance system. So listen carefully. Very first one, okay? That it said that subsidiary alliance system for the first provision, the native ruler entering into the subsidiary system, okay, he will have to accept a British force in the territory, in their territory. Moreover, they will also have to pay the maintenance cost of that army. Okay? So, फिर से दोबारा सुनो, that Indian ruler entering into the subsidiary alliance system, he will have to accept a British force in his territory, and then he will have to make the maintenance cost, maintenance payment of that army. Then the question arises that what if at some point of time he is not able to make the payment? So then what he will do? So then the British had right that if he is failing to make the payment, so his territory will be chipped off. So suppose that he needed to make a payment of 5 lakh rupees. He was not able to pay 5 lakh. So then British will they will access the area and the amount which is coming around 5 lakh, and then revenue collection jis area se 5 lakh. So they will chip off that territory into their domain. Okay? So that territory is going into the domain of the British. You got that? Then second thing, that a British resident was to be posted in the capital of the native ruler. Okay? Generally originally the work of the British resident was to look at the terms and conditions of the treaty, and they are followed in a spirited manner. But rather than doing this work, he was regularly interfering in the affairs of the kingdom. Okay? Then next condition was that the native rulers, they will not employ any European other than British. Okay? So if they want to employ any European, so then that will be British only. Then next condition, that the native ruler will not declare war against anyone. Okay? War against anyone without the permission of the British, and moreover they cannot make alliance with any other Indian power or foreign power without the permission of the British. So it seems to be everything is imposed on the native ruler. The last thing which they have promised, okay, so British in return promised that they will safeguard the native ruler from external as well as external danger. But when you analyze this particular subsidiary alliance system, that are you able to see that it is like this selling the sovereignty of the Maratha pride to the British, okay? Because all the important, every time you need to take the permission, okay? So your sovereign decision making is affected. So now he has accepted, and then after he realized, it took little bit of time, okay? So he became repentant. Bajirao II became repentant, and then he realized that he has sold the Maratha conscience and the Maratha pride to the British, okay? So then in 1818, he decided, okay, that he would be taking the revenge. But before that, okay, so when the subsidiary alliance system has happened, so after this subsidiary alliance system, what Peshwa wanted? Peshwa wanted that he must be appointed at the throne of the Pune, okay? And who has captured Pune? Holkars, okay? So they must be defeated, they must be removed from the Pune. So soon after this subsidiary alliance, British, they went to Pune, they defeated Holkars, removed them from the Pune, which we call as the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Okay? Now the Peshwa is appointed. Then he became repentant after some point of time, and he thought that we need to restore the Maratha pride. So we will write about that later on, discuss about that later on. First you write this part. So we have mentioned the Treaty of Salbai. Okay? So Salbai, relative peace you have mentioned. Then you write, next point, in 1795, Peshwa Savai Madhav Rao committed suicide due to high-handedness of Nana Fadnis. Due to high-handedness of Nana Fadnis. Then it led to appointment of Bajirao II as next Peshwa. Bajirao II as next Peshwa. Then you write he was son of Raghunath Rao. He was son of Raghunath Rao. Then you mention he was under the control of Nana Fadnis and the administrators. Full stop. He wanted to get rid of Nana Fadnis, who died in 1800. Then you write who died in 1800. After the death of Nana Fadnis, the Maratha Sardars were divided on the question of support to Peshwa. Full stop. Then you write Sindhyas declared their support to Peshwa. But Holkars refused. Then after this, Peshwa brutally assassinated Vithoji Rao Holkar. After this, Peshwa brutally assassinated Vithoji Rao Holkar. Then you mention in this scenario, the younger brother Yaswant Rao Holkar, decided to take revenge from Peshwa. Full stop. He attacked on Pune. And thoroughly defeated Sindhyas who were defending Peshwa. Full stop. Then you write terrified Peshwa fled to Bombay. fled to Bombay and signed Treaty of Bassein, Treaty of Bassein or subsidiary alliance, Treaty of Bassein or subsidiary alliance with British. Subsidiary alliance. So you can write a separate title, Treaty of Bassein or subsidiary alliance, which happened in 1802. Okay, so 1802. So once again listen that who was the creator of this subsidiary alliance system? Wellesley. Okay, so Wellesley was the creator who came to India in 1798, and as we have mentioned about him in Mysore episode also, that he was an imperialist to the core, and he wanted as soon as possible expansion of the British paramountcy in India. So what were the terms and conditions? एक बार फिर से वापस से सुन लो in a quick way. That very first one, that the native ruler entering into the alliance will have to accept British force in his territory. He will have to make the payment, okay, of the maintenance cost of this army. Then if he fails to make the payment, so accordingly certain area from his territory will be chipped off as a payment. Then third, a British resident will be appointed in his capital. Okay? He cannot employ any other European other than the British. Okay? He cannot make alliance with anyone or declare war against anyone without the permission of the British. Okay? And in return, British promise that they will safeguard their territory from external as well as internal danger. Right, first one. So the native ruler entering into alliance will have to accept British force in his territory, will have to accept British force in his territory and bear the maintenance cost of the army. Maintenance cost of the army. So can you see that this is a very wise move, okay, by the British itself, that it is their army but not living in their houses, somebody else's house, okay, and payment is also done by somebody else, okay. So that's a brilliant move, and this is what we later on we call this as the army of occupation, but I'm not defining right now. जब army हम separately पढ़ेंगे, so then I'll tell you that what is the meaning of the army of occupation. ठीक है? Then further you write second one, if the native ruler fails to make the payment, then accordingly some area will be chipped off, CHIPPEDOFF, chipped off from their territory. Some area will be chipped off from their territory. Number 3, Indian ruler will have to accept British resident in his court. Number 4, ठीक है, the native ruler will not employ any European other than British. Next, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123 They cannot declare war. They cannot declare war and make alliance with any other power, without without the permission of British, without the permission of British. ठीक है? And then next one you write permission of the British. Last one, in return, British promised that they will safeguard the native ruler. They will safeguard the native ruler from external as well as internal danger. You can see that it seems like that this subsidiary reliance system, it's a terms and conditions of stock market. ठीक है? Or loan application also. All the terms and conditions are on you. Last में कुछ बोलेंगे but उसमें भी लूट लेंगे. ठीक है? So so now this was the subsidiary reliance system, and then after they attacked on the Pune, removed Holkars from the Pune, and then Peshwa was reinstated. So basically this attack on the Holkars is called as the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Okay? Let's talk about the third one. So by 1817, Peshwa was highly repentant, okay, that whatever he has done, it has affected the Maratha pride, okay, and he wanted to make a last bid to restore the Maratha pride and sovereignty. And surprising thing was that Bajirao Peshwa's his dire enemy were the Holkars, okay, and moreover Holkars were the one who expelled him from this place. At this time, when he persuaded Peshwa persuaded Holkars, so Holkars came to the picture to respect the Maratha pride. They did not came for the Peshwa, but they were the one who led this third Anglo-Maratha war, just to restore the Maratha glory against the British. So now all the other Maratha Sardars for the last time they got united, and they fought with the British in between 1817 to 19, but they were thoroughly defeated. One more thing which came to an end by this time, the rule of Pindaris. So what is Pindari? Anybody who has heard it? Suna hai? Pindari suna hoga, but who were they? Any idea? They not merchants. Pindaris were not merchants. They were fighters, ठीक है? They were paid mercenaries, ठीक है? They were not allied to anyone. Their idea, that their notion was that whoever pays them, they will fight with their side. So suppose British will pay them 200 rupees and Maratha will pay them 300 rupees, so they will go with the 300 rupees. Okay? So their allegiance was to the payment. Okay? So they fought from that side which made the more payment. So this time they fought from the side of the Marathas. Okay? But with the defeat of Marathas, they were also defeated, and their paid mercenary scenario also ended. Okay? So also ended, and as such, after the end of the war, the house of Peshwa was abolished, and the entire dominion of the Peshwa was annexed into the British territory. Okay? Mention. So first you एक title लिख लो, Second Anglo-Maratha War. ठीक है? So mention Second Anglo-Maratha War. Not 1700, sorry, 1803 to 5. ठीक है? So mention British attacked on Holkars at Pune. British attacked on Holkars at Pune. and attacked on Holkars at Pune and expelled them from Pune and expelled them from Pune. Then they reinstated Peshwa Bajirao. They reinstated Peshwa Bajirao II to his position. And heavy penalties imposed on Holkars. Okay? So now this is the second war. Then after the second war, you can mention third Anglo-Maratha war. So write third Anglo-Maratha war, 1817 to 19. So mention in this one, Peshwa Bajirao II was repentant by this time. Full stop. Treaty of Bassein wounded the pride of Marathas. Okay? Peshwa made a last bid to restore Maratha sovereignty and their pride. Done. Then next you write, he rallied all the Maratha Sardars with him. He rallied all the Maratha Sardars with him, including Holkars. Done? But unfortunately, Marathas were thoroughly defeated. Okay? Full stop. British abolished House of Peshwa. And the Peshwa's dominion was captured. In the British territory. Okay? So then this is the end of the Maratha episode. Okay? So end of the Maratha episode. And I do have a very good question. I don't want to give right now, okay, obviously. But I'll give you for writing at home. Okay? Not right now, later on I'll give you. Because that question will give you some other dimensions. Please write at your own end and then I will provide some more information to that question. Okay? So by the end of the class I'll give you the question. Okay? So now this episode has ended. Okay? And we are going to enter into the episode of the Punjab. Okay? Punjab episode is a very small one and it's not as elaborate as this one. So now listen, little bit of story related to the Punjab. So first of all, Punjab, that the Punjab started to be recognized as a unique cultural state when the Sikhism emerged. ठीक है? Guru Nanak, the first spiritual guru in the Sikhism, he was contemporary of the Lodhis, ठीक है? And basically that Ibrahim Lodhi. So these all people, Lodhis. Then after, what has happened, that after the death of the Guru Nanak, the tradition which started in the Sikhism was the appointment of the spiritual gurus. And over the period, ठीक है, around 200 years, it took 200 years, till 200 years, 10 spiritual gurus were there in the Sikhism. So starting from Guru Nanak and ending at Guru Gobind Singh, ठीक है. Moreover, we have also seen that it was the Aurangzeb who was responsible for the killing of the Guru Tegh Bahadur, and then Jahangir was responsible for the killing of the Guru Arjan Dev. So Guru Arjan Dev. So what has happened, that a kind of acrimony which has developed between the Sikhism and the Mughal house, okay, which is continuing. Okay. Then in 1707, when Bahadur Shah has come to power, at that point of time also Banda Bahadur, who was the first political appointee, he continued his struggle against the Mughal, and finally in 1716 he was also executed. So after this period of the 1716, the Punjab area, both Punjab, Indian side Punjab also and Pakistani side Punjab also. So 13 confederacies emerged in this area, and these confederacies were known as Misl. Okay? So total 13 confederacies emerged. Okay? And their names were like that Sukar Chakia is the one which we'll mention, but there were many other also, Ahluwaliyas, okay, Bhangiyas, okay. So this way that 13 were there, but out of these 13, 12 were Sikh Misl, okay, and one was Muslim Misl, okay. So 12 were Sikh Misl and one was the Muslim Misl. By 1799, Ranjit Singh, okay, who was the head of the Sukar Chakia Misl, okay, the most powerful Misl or most powerful confederacy, he persuaded all the Sikh Misls, 12 Misls, and then he created modern state of the Punjab, okay. So modern state of Punjab, and then he came to be known as Maharaja Ranjit Singh, okay. So we will talk about that, what further is going to happen, okay. So you write modern state of Punjab as the new heading. Modern state of Punjab. Then, so background we will not be writing, but just I told you that how it all started. Okay? So you can mention just one line. In 18th century, 13 confederacies. In 18th century, 13 confederacies or misls, 13 confederacies or misls emerged in Punjab, or misls emerged in Punjab, out of which 12 were Sikh, 12 were Sikh, and one belonged to Islam. One belonged to Islam. Okay? Then Sukar Chakia was the most powerful. Sukar Chakia was the most powerful misl, headed by Ranjit Singh. Headed by Ranjit Singh. Then you mention by 1799, he was successful in the merger of all the Sikh misls he was successful in the merger of all the Sikh missiles to create modern Sikh state of Punjab. Modern Sikh state of Punjab. Take it. So now listen. So after the creation of the Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh also knows that British are too powerful, okay? And by this time they have really become too powerful to be defeated, okay? So it's better to go with the strategy of the negotiation and the diplomacy rather than fighting with them. And moreover, what he did, that he has seen that in the previous century, okay, in the previous century, what has happened, that whoever has taken the help of the French, okay, they had a confrontation with the British. So he also wanted to create a very strong army, modern army, and he employed 4 British officers for creation of the modern army. Okay? So in this way, he is not irritating the British. Okay? So Ventura, Allard, and Coate and Gardner. Okay? These were the 4 British officers who were helping in the creation of the modern army. Then another thing which happened, that in 1809, okay, just have a look at this map. So in 1809, Maharaja Ranjit Singh wanted to further expand his territory into the Sis Satluj area. Okay? So into, just let me create this particular part. Just give me one more minute. So which area we call Sis Satluj area? We need to understand that part. So basically the 5 rivers which are there, okay? The last river in this Punjab, okay? So last river is the Satluj, okay? So last river is Satluj. So the part which is on this side of the Satluj, this was called as Sis Satluj area. 1 minute. So this is Sis Satluj area, and the one which was there on the other side, that was Trans Satluj area. Jaldi likhne ke chakkar mein. And this is the Trans. So the rule of Maharaja Ranjit Singh was in Trans Satluj area. And as you know, he wanted to further expand his territory in this part, which is basically the parts of Haryana, upper parts of the Rajasthan, okay? And Himachal also. So when it all started, so in these areas, there were the local chief and then local powerful people. So they persuaded British to negotiate with Maharaja Ranjit Singh, okay? And on the behalf of the Sis Satluj people, British negotiated with the Maharaja Ranjit Singh, which resulted into a treaty which is known as the Treaty of Amritsar, okay? And as per the Treaty of Amritsar, British recognized the sovereign claim of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh in Trans Satluj area, and then Sis Satluj area was kept under the influence of the British. So they were given freedom, but under the influence of the British. Okay? So the terms of treaty were followed till the life of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Okay? 1839. So it's very rare with the British that they will be following any terms of treaty, but here in Punjab, they followed. Okay? So they followed till 1839, but after the death of Maharaja, what has happened? Okay? So after his death, there was a very quick succession of rulers in Punjab. Okay? Within few years only, many people were appointed. So Khadak Singh, now Nihal Singh, Sher Singh, and Dhulip Singh. So the last was the Dhulip Singh. Okay? And at this point of time, Dhulip was a minor, so he was under the regency of the mother Rani Jindal. Okay? She was youngest wife of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Okay? So she was ruling on the behalf of the minor son Dhulip Singh. Moreover, what happened, that British, they found that this is the right time to interfere in the Punjab politics. So what they did, okay, before the beginning of the first war, this Satluj river here, what they did, that they brought a very large British force. Okay? They brought a very large British force on the pretext of creating a bridge on Satluj. Okay? So how many people are required for creating a bridge? 500, 1000, उससे ज़्यादा 1000 भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, ठीक है? 500 is too much, ठीक है? So 500 is too much. So 500 people are required, but they have brought 7,000 6,000 forces, ठीक है, to create a bridge. Then, so Rani has asked that what is the purpose of this one? When they replied only for the bridge, ठीक है. So then she has asked that bridge, to create a bridge, only this much people is enough, ठीक है. It is 10 times. So then they said that no, it is for the bridge only, ठीक है. Either it is 10 time or 1 time. So now she got that what they are trying to do. She was that they provoked Rani and then she ordered, okay, the fight, and then the fight happened between the British and the Khalsa army. And in this fight, obviously the Khalsa army was defeated, and after that Treaty of Lahore happened. But generally, I just give one reference to the Treaty of Lahore, but I'll add few more things into the Treaty of Lahore. So what it resulted into. So one part of the Treaty of Lahore, that half of the Punjab territory was annexed by the British. Okay? So half of the Punjab territory is gone with them. Then moreover, the size of Khalsa army was also reduced to the half. Okay? But the important part was, Punjab was forced to make 1 crore payment. Okay? 1 crore payment as a war indemnity, which they were not able to make the payment, okay, at this point of time. They were only able to make the payment of 25 lakh rupees out of 1 crore. So then what the British did, that they took Kashmir, okay, and they sold it to the Gulab Singh, okay. So they sold it to the Gulab Singh. Now who was Gulab Singh? Any idea? He belonged to the, in post-independence we talk about him in a bit elaborate fashion. So Gulab Singh belonged to the Dogra dynasty, okay? Dogra dynasty, still they are the rulers, that they are considered as the royal family of the Srinagar, okay? So Dogra dynasty, and in fact this dynasty, earlier they were the rulers in the Kashmir, okay? They were the rulers in the Kashmir, but what has happened that over the period this area has gone into the lap of the Punjab, okay? And then once again it is coming back to the that Gulab Singh. So Gulab Singh make the payment of 75 lakh rupees to the British to get his own area. Okay? So to get his own area, and that's how that it all started. Okay? So it all started in post-independence. You read that his son, that his progeny was the Maharaja Hari Singh. Okay? At his time, the instrument of accession was created, and that instrument of accession led to the accession of the Kashmir into India. Okay? So that part you read in the post-independence, but this is related to this family only. Okay? Now we can mention. So what missile tak likha hai, okay? So, and even army also we have not written. Okay? No. So you write Maharaja Ranjit Singh emphasized on creation of a very strong army, full stop, for which he enlisted the help of 4 British officers, Ventura, Allard, Court and Gardner. Ventura, Allard, Court and Gardner. Done? He went on to create second strongest army of Asia. Done? Then you write. In 1809, he wanted to annex Cis Satluj area. CIS, Cis Satluj area. Okay? At this time, the local chiefs of this area, the local chief of this area, persuaded British to negotiate, which resulted into Treaty of Amritsar, 1809. Treaty of Amritsar, 1809. As per the treaty, British recognized the sovereign claim of Ranjit Singh, in Trans-Sutlej area. Sovereign claim of Ranjit Singh in Trans-Sutlej area, and Cis-Sutlej area came under the influence of British. Full stop. The terms of treaty were followed. Till the life of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Then you mention, after his death in 1839, there was quick succession of rulers like Khadak Singh, Navnihal Singh, Sher Singh, and the last one, Duleep Singh. Okay? So mention these 4 names. Duleep Singh was a miner, right? Right, first. Duleep Singh was a miner. Under the regency of his mother, Rani Jindal. Under the regency of his mother, Rani Jindal. Done? At this time, British started to interfere. In the affairs of Punjab. Then you write after that. In 1845, British brought a large British force. To create a bridge on River Sutlej. You can mention as a title, right, First Anglo-Sikh War. First Anglo-Sikh War, 1845 to 46. In this you mention Rani Jindan objected to the large presence of British forces. Which led to the first war. Full stop. British defeated the Khalsa army. After which Treaty of Lahore 1846 was signed. 1846 was signed. Then you write. So terms of the treaty you can mention as 1, 2, 3. So mention number 1. Half of the Punjab territory was taken by British. Number 2. The size of Khalsa army was reduced to half. Number 3. Punjab was forced to make 1 crore payment. Full stop. When they failed to make the complete payment, comma, British sold Kashmir, or handed over, you can say. Not sold right term nahi hoga, handed over likh lo. Sold will not be the right term. Handed over Kashmir to Gulab Singh, on the payment of 70. Handed over Kashmir to Gulab Singh on the payment. Let me complete the sentence. ठीक है, फिर बीच में कुछ छूट जाएगा. So on the payment of 75 lakh rupees. See, whatever you are writing, that is you are writing according to the central books. ठीक है? So go with that. ठीक है? There is no doubt about it. So now, next one. So just listen the last part. So last part is that this has happened. ठीक है? And after this, what has happened? That Rani. ठीक है? So Rani Jindan, she was mistreated after this one. ठीक है? And moreover, she was exiled to Chunar, which is close to Banaras. ठीक है? So this was not liked by the Punjab population, and there was hell lot of interference at this point of time. And moreover, what happened? That there was one governor in the Multan area. His name was Mulraj. So he was removed from his position, and somebody new was appointed. So it is Mulraj who initiated the second war from the Multan, but it swelled to the all over Punjab. And finally, British made a last bid to thoroughly defeat the Punjab Khalsa army, and in 1849 Punjab was completely annexed into the British Dominion. ठीक है? So please write, mention. Second Anglo-Punjab War. Second Anglo-Punjab War. Second Anglo-Punjab War. In this you mention 1849. Date लिखो 1849. So you write Rani Jindal was mistreated. Rani Jindal was mistreated and sent to Chunar. Mistreated and sent to Chunar. Chunar. It is close to Banaras. Then further write British removed the governor of Multan. Removed the governor of Multan, Mulraj, M-U-L-R-A-Z, Mulraj, from power. Mulraj from power. Then from power, which marked the beginning of rebellion. Which marked the beginning of rebellion, and it swelled into Second Anglo-Maratha War. Sorry, Second Anglo-Sikh War. Second Anglo-Sikh War. Then you write after the defeat of Punjab, it was completely annexed into British Dominion. Completely annexed into British Dominion. ठीक है? So this is overall all the topics of the regional powers. What was the class number today? 8 है? एक class extra लगा है. Generally it ends by the 7th class. ठीक है? Half of the 7th class, but one extra class we have taken. So out of this topic, just listen that let's prioritize that what is important from the perspective of the both stages of the exam. So as I must have mentioned earlier also, that it is Bengal and Maratha who are the most important. And in mains stage of the exam, they have asked equal number of the question from both the topics. Okay? And I have seen last 25 years papers, so 1 or 2 questions, 2 or 3 questions were from the Mysore, and just 1 or 2 questions from the Punjab, and none from Awadh, and which all state, Hyderabad also. So from Carnatic episode they have asked 1 or 2 questions in the prelims examination, okay? With the most important, as you know, Bengal and the Maratha, okay? And from both the topics they have asked 10 to 12 questions, okay, over the years. So now we are done with 1/3 of the syllabus, okay, which is the regional powers. But in terms of the length of the syllabus, this is 1/3, but in terms of the question, this is just I'll say that 1/5, okay, less number of questions from this end. And from here what we are going to start, that is going to be the very important from the perspective of the number of questions in the exam. So till this point of time, not only we have studied about the decline of the Mughals, but also the regional kingdoms and their fall to the British authority. So by 1849, Punjab has been annexed into the British territory. And when you look at the entire Indian subcontinent, so you can safely say that near about 70 to 75% area of Indian subcontinent is under British control. Then, and in this period, few more things will happen. So let me tell you that what is the course structure from the next class or this class onwards. So in this particular period, okay, there were n number of the policies and n number of their acts which we are going to start. Apart from that, we need to see that till 1857, what was the structure of their army? That we need to talk about army, their civil services, their police and their judicial system. Then another part of this phase is the land revenue policy of the British. When they have annexed this area, captured this area, so what kind of land revenue policy they have come up with? Okay? So the three land revenue policies, which are permanent settlement, then Mehelwari and Rayatwadi. Okay? These three we will do. Then after, we also talk about some of the resistances against the British authority, that in the 100 years, okay, there were n number of the resistances against the British authority, though they were not very big, but at least people were resisting against the British operation. Okay? So we will complete the topic of the civil and tribal uprising. Okay? In that, near about 19 to 20 revolts we will talk about. Okay? Just few that tribal revolts and then civil revolts. So it's a smaller topic, but from this topic questions do come in the prelims examination. Okay? Then we finally enter into the biggest revolt or the most massive revolt of the time, that is 1857 revolt. After 1857 revolt, something is going to change in India. So not only that this revolt has taken the British roots in India, but also it has given them an alarm that if they continue with the same sort of policy, so it will just take 10 or 15 years for them to wind up from India. So now what happened, that after the suppression of the 1857 revolt, the complete transfer of power. So complete transfer of power from this private company to the British Crown. Okay? So from 1858, the Crown rule is going to start. So under the Crown rule, there are n number of the topics we will see. So we will also cover some of the acts which has come after 1857. So like 1858 ka act, then Indian Council Act of the 1861, 1892. Then in this phase, we further mention, okay, this 1857 to 1900, the emergence of the regional organization in India. These regional organizations, they are doing the work of creating awareness in India, and moreover, their work will finally result into the formation of the Indian National Congress in 1885. Okay? So from the formation of the Indian National Congress in 1885, we enter into the second part of the syllabus, which is mentioned in the mains exam. So that is the Indian freedom struggle and various stages. Okay? So that would be the next part. And from there onwards, we have the different phases. Phase 1, phase 2, Gandhian phase, Gandhian ke andar hi kai sare phase, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, quit India. So these all we'll see then after. Okay? So now is the time to understand about the company. Okay? You can just write one heading and just listen to me. Heading likh ke chhod do. Okay? So you write administration under British East India Company. So now listen. Before we delve into the topic of the act, first we need to understand the functioning of the company. How company functioned in the India. Listen this carefully if you want, so later I can dictate also, but just listen right now. So first of all, the highest body in the company, okay, and the most important people in the company were court of directors. Okay? There were total 24 court of directors who were managing the affairs of the company. Okay? Who were this court of director? Okay? So these court of directors, they were there in the Britain. Okay? They were appointed on the annual basis. Okay? So they were appointed on the annual basis, and moreover, their appointment was done by the shareholders of the company. Okay? So it is shareholders of the company who on annual basis they are appointing the court of directors, and total 24 court of directors were there. Many a times these shareholders, they are called as the court of proprietors. Okay? We will write later on, but just listen, court of proprietors. Moreover, the functioning, how it was happening. So there were many committees of the this court of directors. Okay? So 24 people are there. So there are 3-4 committees. In some 4 people are there, in some 5 people are there. So there were many committees, and these committees were looking at the day-to-day functioning of the company. Okay? So day-to-day functioning of the company. Moreover, that in India, what was the structure? So in India, the company had 3 presidencies. Okay? So company had 3 presidencies. One is the Bengal, Madras and Bombay. Okay? So one was Bengal, Madras and Bombay. Each of the presidency has a governor. Okay? Was headed by a governor. So Bombay has a governor, and then Bengal and Madras, everyone has a governor. Then governor was assisted by his council. So there were some members in the council. So governor and his council was the most important decision making body in India. Okay? So for Bengal, most important people, governor and his council. Okay? And it was said that nothing can be transacted without the majority vote in the council. Meaning, isko samjho. If governor one person and if there are 4 members in the council, okay? So suppose some decision is to be taken. So if out of these 5 people, governor and 4 people, if 3 people are supporting, so then only that decision would be implemented. Okay? So that is there. Moreover, these 3 presidencies were independent of each other. Okay? In India, they were independent of each other and absolute government in themselves. Okay? So what do you mean by this? That independent of each other and absolute government in themselves? Meaning? No, just listen. Okay? Chalo, yes, very good, exactly. So they were not responsible to each other. Okay? For example, if Bengal has to take any decision, it does not need to take the connivance of the Bombay. Okay? Same. Madras is free to take their own decision, Bombay is free to take their own decision, and Bengal is free to their own decision. So that's how we say that they were absolute government in themselves. Okay? They were free to take their own decisions, but they were only responsible to the court of directors in the Britain. So separately they are reporting to the court of directors, but they will not report to each other. This is the structure till 1773. Okay? So this is the structure till 1773, which will change after it. Do you want to repeat that? If you want, I repeat it, so I will repeat. Yes or no? Once again, okay? So this time repetition would be from writing. Okay? You are not going to write. So the highest body, okay? I am writing HB. Highest body of the company was court of directors. Okay? And what was their number? 24. Okay? So their numbers were 24. Then the second thing is how they were appointed. Okay? So their appointment. Their appointment was done on annual basis by whom? Okay? Shareholders of the company. Okay? And what do we call these shareholders of the company? Court of proprietors. Okay? So court of proprietors. Moreover, the day-to-day functioning, okay? So day-to-day functioning of the company was managed by the committees of court of directors. Okay? So committee of CO, court of director. Okay? This is keyword I am writing. Then committee of court of director. Then in India, there were 3 presidencies of British. Okay? And these 3 presidencies, Bengal, then Bombay and Madras. Okay? So Bengal, Bombay, Madras. What we said that these 3 presidencies were absolute government in themselves. Okay? Absolute government in themselves and completely independent of each other. Meaning that they don't need to consult each other. They can take their own decision. They are responsible for their own decisions. But only people they needed to report to was the court of directors. Okay? So all of them, so all of them will be reporting to the court of directors. Okay? Now, each of the presidency, okay, Bengal, Bombay and Madras, all of them were having a governor. Okay? So they were having one governor general. Okay? Governor general. And moreover, the most important decision making body in a presidency was governor general and his council. Okay? So and his council. Then what we mentioned that nothing can be transacted without the majority vote in the council. ठीक है? Meaning that 5 people are there, so at least 4 votes must be there, 3 votes must be there for one decision to be implemented. ठीक है? So this was the system. This is how company was functioning in India till 1773. And then the things will change from 1773. We will talk about that. So you write background of the company. You can write just background as a heading, background. You write, mention the highest authority in the company, the highest authority in company were 24 court of directors, were 24 court of directors, full stop. They were appointed on annual basis. They were appointed on annual basis by the shareholders, of the company, by the shareholders of the company. Then further you write shareholders of the company who were also known as court of proprietors. So spelling I am telling you, PROPEITORS, proprietors. ठीक है? Court of proprietors. Then further you mention proprietors. The day-to-day functioning of company, the day-to-day, everything separately. Day-to-day functioning of company was managed by the committees of court of directors, was managed by the committee of court of directors. Then change paragraph. Then you write, in India, the company had 3 presidencies. 3 presidencies, that is Bengal, Bombay and Madras. Bengal, Bombay and Madras. Full stop. Each of them were headed by a governor general. Full stop. The most important decision making body in presidencies was governor general and his council. ठीक है? Full stop. Nothing could be transacted. Without the permission of or majority vote. ऑब्लिक करके लिख लो, majority vote of the council, then you write each of the presidencies were absolute government. Each of the presidencies were absolute government in themselves. Absolute government in themselves, completely independent of each other, completely independent of each other, and they were only answerable to court of directors. Only answerable to court of directors. ठीक है? So this is what was the structure of the company in the beginning. ठीक है? Now we need to see that how it all started. That how, let me complete this part, then after the break we will do the 1773 Act. But the background of the 1773 also you need to understand. Just wait for 5-7 minutes. So listen. So that by this time, that 1770s, this is basically a private company, okay? And private company has its own type of the rule which we have mentioned, that how they are managing, okay? So now, how the British Parliament is going to get hand in regulating the affairs of company. So listen, that first of all, after the Plassey plunder, or Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, Diwani rights have been given to the British. Okay? So they have income from their political rights in India, and moreover, when they have come to India, so they came to India with their commerce and business. So their main income was from their commerce and business, their trading activity, but additional payment they are getting from the Diwani right. Okay? So the dual system of administration which is started in the Bengal, okay, which left the revenue administration in the hand of the British and the Nizamat function, territorial administration, in the hand of the puppet Nawab, it led to the Bengal peasantry in a very hapless situation. Okay? They were oppressed by both the ends, okay, by British and moreover puppet Nawab also. So their condition was becoming worse day by day. Moreover, in 1770, there was one of the most that dire famines of India, the major famine which happened in the Bengal, and it is said that such was the situation in the Bengal that 1/3 of the population of the Bengal was swiped, okay, because of this famine. So 1/3 population was swiped, and people were dying because of the malnutrition, okay. So that is one situation. So British government at the Britain, okay, or basically the British Parliament and Crown, they did not want it to be a mute spectator, that they wanted to jump into this scenario to do something, okay. This is what they maintained. That is one part. Then another thing, that there was a secret committee report, okay, secret committee report, that the employees of the company, they have stashed heaps of wealth, okay, huge amount of wealth, and moreover, when they are retiring, when they are going from India, so they are creating some sort of big palaces and mansions in the London, and they are living like the Nawabs of London, okay. So this is the term which secret committee maintained to the people. Then another thing, that not only they were becoming corrupt, the most important thing, that by 1770, due to the corruption of the company employees, you will be surprised to know that company was on the that verge of the bankruptcy. It's surprising. The company which has looted India, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. So basically what was happening, that all the profits of the company were stashed by these company employees for their own self-aggrandizing behavior, and the company treasury was becoming empty day by day. So in 1770, this was the situation. To save the company from the bankruptcy, the company individuals, they applied for a loan. Okay? So they applied for a loan to the British Parliament, and this loan was £1 million loan. So 10 lakh pound loan they applied, So this is the opportunity, okay, that when they applied for this loan, British Parliament grabbed this opportunity to check the corruption in the company and also cross-check their accounts, that what they are doing, that why this company is in a loss, despite they are getting huge benefit from the this Diwani rights of the Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. So that is the background of the 1773, and that's how it all started. So Parliament of the Britain started to regulate the company from 1773 onwards. Mention background of 1773 Act. Background of 1773 Act. Mention after the Battle of Buxar, after the Battle of Buxar, dual system of administration started in Bengal. Dual system of administration started in Bengal, whereby Diwani right was in the hand of British, and Nizamat function that is territorial administration, Nizamat function with puppet Nawab. It full stop. It led to heavy oppression of Bengal peasantry. It led to heavy oppression of Bengal peasantry. ठीक है? Number 2 mention the great famine of 1770 comma swiped near about one third of Bengal population. Full stop. People were in hapless situation. Hapless, not hopeless. ठीक है? HAPLESS. Hapless situation. ठीक है? The British Crown and Parliament did not wanted themselves to be mute spectators. Next point. There was a secret committee report. Which maintained that Robert Clive and the company servants have stashed stashed huge amount of corrupt money for themselves. Huge amount of corrupt money for themselves, and they are living like Nawabs of London. They are living like Nawabs of London. London. Then mention, next point. In 1772, company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Company was on the verge of bankruptcy, and it applied for 1 million pound loan. It applied for 1 million pound loan to British Parliament. 1 million pound loan to British Parliament. Full stop. Parliament grabbed this opportunity. To cross check the accounts of company. And regulate its affairs in India. Okay? So regulate its affairs in India. Then, so see that things are going in a systematic fashion. That it's a chronological way, and then the way that you must understand that how the changes are happening. Okay? So we will talk about the 1773 Act after the break. So write the heading, Regulating Act of 1773. Regulating Act of 1773. So listen to the provisions, and moreover attach importance to the topic that every year in prelims examination you get 2 questions from the acts. Okay? So this is the one place where you need to mug up. Okay? Where you need to memorize the stuff. There is no escape from the memorizing the provisions of the act. So just listen the very first provision. So as we mentioned that each of the presidencies had a governor general. Okay? So sabke the. Now this act made the governor general of Bengal responsible for the territories of the Madras and Bombay also. Okay? So he was made Governor General of Bengal, was made Governor General of British territory in India. But understand, okay? When we say he was made Governor General of British territory in India, that does not mean that he is the Governor General of India. You are getting it? Because entire India does not belong to the British. Okay? In 1773. So only 3 territories, Bengal, Bombay and Madras. So he was made the Governor General of this territory. Then the second provision, Bombay and Madras was made subservient to Bengal, meaning that now onwards they will have to report to the Bengal. Earlier they were independent in themselves, they were not reporting, but from here onwards they will have to report to the Bengal. So they were made subservient to the Bengal. Okay? Then, meaning it also means that if they are going into the war, they will have to take the permission. Okay? Then the third one, to assist Governor General, an executive council was created. So 4 members were appointed into this executive council, Governor General Executive Council, and all the decisions were taken from the majority vote of this executive council. Okay? So this is 1 member, 1 Governor General and 4 executive members. Then it also led to the establishment of the Supreme Court at Calcutta. Okay? So Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1774, Supreme Court was created, and Eliza M. was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at Calcutta, and moreover he was supported by that 3 other judges. ठीक है? So one main judge and 3 other judges. ठीक है? Then what else? So other provision of this particular act, that every British official, ठीक है, every British official who is working in India, on their return home, when they are returning home in London, in Britain, so they will have to give a complete account of the wealth and how they have acquired this wealth. ठीक है? So that what is there in their wealth and how they have acquired this wealth. And then it also banned the private trade. Okay? So it also banned the private trade. So these were the provisions of this 1773. We will write, once again we will repeat, and then we do the analysis of this 1773 Act also. So some places we will write the background of the act, some places we will do the analysis. Not all the places analysis, not all the places background. Wherever it will be required, I will do that stuff. Okay? So please mention. Number 1. The governor of Bengal was made responsible. The governor of Bengal was made responsible for British territory in India. Responsible for British territory in India. In other words, he became Governor General of British Indian Territory. Governor General of British Indian Territory. Number 2, British Indian Territory. Number 2, Bombay and Madras were made subservient. So I hope now it's fine and it's audible also. So I think that you guys just missed 30 seconds or 45 seconds. So I'm just going to repeat the last 2, okay, so that if those who have missed, they can write. Okay? So let me repeat the last 2 provisions. So I think third provision which I mentioned, it created Governor General Executive Council, which had 5 members, that is Governor General and 4 executive members. All the decisions were to be taken through majority vote. So this was the provision number 3. And fourth, we mentioned it led to the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1774. Okay? Then further you write. They have missed second provision also. Second point also. Okay, चलो. So एक बार फिर से वापस सुन लो, पूरी क्लास ही सुन लो कि जिसको लिखना होगा लिख लेगा. So what we mentioned, that very first thing, that the Governor General of Bengal was made responsible for the Governor General of British Indian Territory. ठीक है? British Indian Territory. Second was that Bombay and Madras was made subservient to the Bengal, meaning that in all the matters they needed to consult with the Bengal. Okay? So they needed to consult with the Bengal. What I'll do, that I'm mentioning this same thing would be written in the response screen. Okay? Then so you guys can copy it from there. Then the third, we mentioned about the Governor General Executive Council, which was created, which had 5 members and 1 obviously Governor General and 4 executive members. Every decision was to be taken through majority vote. And then the fourth was establishment of the Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1774. From here onwards you can write Eliza Impey was the first Chief Justice. Eliza Impey was the first Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Okay? Then further right, he was supported by see I have a small confusion here, 2 or 3 judges, I'll confirm in a while, ठीक है. अभी के लिए he was supported by you write 2 judges, ठीक है, because I'm little confused over here, 2 or 3. So सुगम एक बार चेक करना, ठीक है. So you write 2 judges, then you mention next point you write it banned the private trade, it banned the private trade, ठीक है. Next point, every British official on his return home needed to give detail about his wealth and how it has been acquired, So this is the regulating act of the 1773, ठीक है. But this act, we will do the analysis of this act, ठीक है. So just listen that what is the analysis, that we have to go back to the background, that what was there in the background and accordingly what is happening over here, ठीक है. So accordingly what is happening over here, so let's discuss one by one. So first of all, that the background of the act, it says about the corruption and everything. So very first thing, that though it's that in the background they said that there is too much of corruption in the company which needs to be controlled, but if we look at the same, so there was no effective mechanism to check the corruption. The court of directors, the main bodies, they are based in the Britain, okay, and the company officials doing the corruption in India. So there was no clear chain of command also, and at the same point of time that they are not able to check their accounts all the time, okay. So there was no mechanism, very useful mechanism to check the corruption, number one. Number two, that when we have written this particular part, Governor General, okay, so Governor General Council, Governor General was rendered powerless in his council, okay. You are saying him that he is the head of the British Indian territory, okay, but at the same point of time you have rendered him powerless. How come? That he needs the support of 2 other people to get a policy on the way, okay. If these executive councillors, okay, if they are ganging together all the time, so then none of the policy would be executed, okay. And that's what exactly happened for next few years, that these 4 executive members, they often ganged together and 4 were on one side and Governor General on one side. So Warren Hastings was rendered powerless, okay. He was not able to take any decision, okay. That's number one. Then the third loophole, that when the Supreme Court was created, so the powers of the Supreme Court were not clearly mentioned. So there was no clear demarcation between the powers of Supreme Court, and Governor General also had judicial powers. So no clear demarcation between that who has the greater powers, greater judicial powers, Supreme Court or Governor General. So this is one problem. And one last but not the least, okay, that they mentioned in the beginning that people of India, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, they are in hapless situation. They are oppressed. But have you seen anything in the Regulating Act which mentions about the welfare of the people of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha? There was nothing in the act which was mentioned for the people of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. So these are the loopholes of the act. Okay? You can mention. लिखो एनालिसिस ऑफ द एक्ट 3 ना, ठीक है, वो जजेस में 3 कर लो. इनिशियली मैंने 3 बोल के फिर 2 कर दिया था, ठीक है, आई वॉज कंफ्यूज. सो 3 जजेस, ठीक है, करेक्ट इट, 3 जजेस, नॉट 2 जजेस. देन यू राइट एनालिसिस ऑफ द एक्ट. So mention there was there was there was no clear mechanism. There was no clear mechanism to check the corruption. No clear mechanism to check the corruption and the corruption remained intact. And the corruption remained intact. Then next point mention Governor General was rendered, rendered powerless. Governor General was rendered powerless in his council. Full stop. The four executive members often ganged together and blocked almost all the decisions of Governor General Warren Hastings. Then next you write there was no, third point, there was no clear demarcation. Between the judicial powers of Governor General and Supreme Court. ठीक है, Governor General and Supreme Court. Next, there was nothing in the act which was for the welfare of people of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. ठीक है. So this is the criticism of the act. ठीक है, we can say it as a criticism. ठीक है. So now the 1773 act has happened, but one of the criticism was corrected. ठीक है. And what was this? The Governor General's that his judicial powers and the judicial powers of the Supreme Court. So listen, in 1781 the amending act of 1781 came and it amended only one provision, that is the judicial powers. So what it did, that it kept the judicial powers of the Governor General above the Supreme Court. ठीक है. So now he is the supreme body, his judicial powers were higher than the Supreme Court. ठीक है. So you can mention, number मत लिखना, ठीक है, as a just a conclusion remark. So the amending act of 1781, the amending act of 1781 defined the judicial powers of Supreme Court and Governor General. ठीक है. Full stop. It placed Governor General above the Supreme Court. Governor General above the Supreme Court. ठीक है? So this is about the 1773 Act. ठीक है? Let's have a look at the one last act for the today's class, and rest of the things we'll do later on. So Pitt's India Act of 1784. So Pitt's India Act of 1784. Then, so this one was called as Pitt's India Act because it was named after the Prime Minister of the Britain, William Pitt the Younger. Okay? So it was named after him. Now it tried to correct some of the things. Okay? So now since the corruption was not getting stopped, okay? It was not stopped. So what they did, that they thought to check the corruption, okay? Let's create another body, okay? Let's create another body which will check the corruption, which will oversee the functioning of court of directors also. So in fact, when in the later episodes, when we read about the civil services and these all, the corruption actually emanated from the court of directors itself, okay? They were also highly corrupt. There was a nebulous connection between the company employees and the court of directors, okay? And these court of directors had the power of appointing the officials into India, okay? So often when they are sending somebody from Britain to India, okay, as an official, so वहाँ पे भी पैसा लेके रख लिया, ठीक है? यहाँ से जो नीचे से चल रहा है, ठीक है, वो ऊपर तक पहुँच रहा है, जो आज के भी सिस्टम में है, ठीक है? We are not different than that time. In reality, there are honest people, okay? There are people who are utter honest. They are not involved in this, but it is still there, ठीक है? That अगर जो 10 रुपया चला है, तो वो 10 रुपये 10 जगह बटेगा, ठीक है? So that was here. So there was a nebulous connection between the company employees and the court of directors. Now it is known to the British Parliament that court of directors are no saint, ठीक है? So what they did, that they decided that they will create another body which came to be known as Board of Control. Okay? So Board of Control which will look after the functioning of the Court of Directors. Okay? So look after the functioning of Court of Directors, and Board of Control will completely say the civil military affairs of the company in India. Civil military and revenue affairs of the company in India. So they will check everything. Okay? So they will check everything. That's something like in 2011, I hope you all of you know that people started saying that that how to check the corruption of the people who are the prime position, okay? That prime minister. So let's bring another person who is above prime minister. Let's bring Lokpal bill and Lokayukt, okay? That he would be above prime minister. But what is the guarantee that that person will not become corrupt? Okay? So just to stop the corruption of one, you create another body. वो corrupt हो गया, उसके ऊपर भी एक बना दो. बनाते ही चलो, उसके ऊपर एक और बाकी सब दब के मर जाएं, ठीक है? So see, this is not the solution, ठीक है? This is not the solution. So they have done this. That Board of Control was created. Now another very important part of the 1784 Act, that it is going to do something new in India, that the joint rule of the company, okay? Joint rule of the company, and also the British Parliament is going to start from 1784. So now onwards, it's not the company's rule only, but it is also the British Parliament's rule. And this body of Board of Control, it is the one which is representing the Parliament, okay? Got that? So joint rule. And this question was recently asked in, I think 2015 or 16, it was asked in the exam. Then the next provision of this one, that this particular act, it clearly distinguished between the political and the commercial functions of the company. So what is the political function of the company? Is it the function which they carried from the beginning, or they acquired? Acquired, okay? So when 1765, Treaty of Allahabad, they got the Diwani right. That is a political right, okay? So that is their one such income, okay? That when they have defeated the Indian rulers, so they have got some political privileges in India, and one of the privileges this Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. And then they came as a commercial body in India. So they came as a commercial body in India. Their trade and commerce, with that they had a kind of profit or income, okay? So now what it said, keep the two accounts separate, okay? What you are earning from your political rights, that account must be separate, and then what you are You are in a loss, you are in a profit. With your commercial function, keep it separate. Okay? So it clearly distinguished between the two. Then, for the first time, since this is the combined rule of the company and the British Parliament, so for the first time, that the British position in that the company's territory in India were called as British possession in India. Okay? So change of the word, but it means a lot. Okay? So British territory in India became British possession in India. Then another thing, the problem was with that this particular Governor General's power. He was rendered powerless in his council. So now 1784 Act proposed that the person who is going to come this time, okay, the next Governor General who will come, he will be given veto power in his council on emergency matters. What is veto power? He can overrule his council. ठीक है? अब वो लोग गैंग कर लें, एक साथ रह लें, but he will overrule the council. ठीक है? So on emergency matter, and as such in 1785, when Cornwallis has come to India, he was given this overriding power. And moreover, Cornwallis was also made the governor. Sorry, he was also made commander-in-chief of the Indian forces. Okay, British Indian forces. So this was just proposed to see the experimentation goes well or not. But later on, what happened that it was further extended to everyone. So in Cornwallis time, it was experimented and then it was further given to the every Governor General. Okay? Now we can write. So mention. Provision number 1 you write. Okay? It led to the beginning of joint rule. It led to the beginning of joint rule of company and British Parliament. Company and British Parliament. Full stop. Number 2, you mention. It led to the establishment of board of control in Britain. Which will supervise court of directors, and companies, civil, military, and revenue affair. Companies, civil, military, and revenue affair. ठीक है? Then next you write revenue affair. It clearly distinguished between the political and commercial functions of company. Next point. For the first time, the company's territory in India, was called British possession in India. British possession in India. कल कुछ हमने डिस्कशन किया था मैसूर में, if you guys remember, related to this only 1784. The war ended, second war ended. So one of the provision of this one we mentioned. Yes. So what we mentioned yesterday, that one of the provision of the Pitt's India Act was to forbid the policy of the conquest and interference in the affairs of the princely states. Okay? But it was seldom observed by the British authority. Okay? So that was also in this one, you're right. Okay? So it forbid, it forbid, forbid, spelling of forbid, Forbade. It forbid the policy of conquest. It forbade the policy of conquest and interference in the affairs of native states, full stop. But this provision was seldom observed by the company. This provision was seldom observed by the company. Then next you write seldom observed by the company. Next point, number 6. The act decided to give veto power. The act decided to give veto power to the next Governor General. Veto power to the next Governor General, so that he can overrule his council on important matters. Overrule his council on important matters. Then you write Cornwallis. उसी पॉइंट में लिख सकते हो, नंबर मत चेंज करो. Cornwallis, upon his arrival, was given veto power. Upon his arrival was given veto power, and he was also made commander-in-chief. He was also made commander-in-chief of British Indian forces. Commander-in-chief of British Indian forces. Then go back to the Regulating Act of the 1773. Open the page. No one will go outside the class. Okay? You have 2 minutes to revise. Read it. Read carefully. If done with the first revision, do the second revision of the same topic. Done. So, should I ask questions to you? But see that when I ask questions, obviously सब लोग एक साथ बोलोगे. If I ask questions, so I'll point towards one person, I will pick whoever he would be. See, but if you're not able to give the answer, please don't feel it anyway. It means that more focused part would be required. Okay? So now, since you have revised, okay? So it's very awkward to choose a person for. I'll ask for you people to raise hands, and accordingly I'll choose one. Okay? So then, tell me the criticism of the 1773 related to the judiciary. Raise your hands. Let me check. You. There was no clear demarcation. Okay? And how it was solved? Yes. it was placed above the Supreme Court. Good. Okay. Then the second question related to that, what is the major criticism of the 1773 Act? You will have to decide, okay? That which you consider as the major criticism of the 1773 Act. Raise your hand. You. Sure. And what about you guys? What you consider? Okay. Then somebody raised hand. Okay. I'll go with you. The main aim was the corruption. Welfare part was not mentioned. Okay? See, it was not the British intention from the very first place. It's just their voice. Okay? It's just they are trying to create a scenario in India whereby they are saying that कि अरे नहीं हम लोग बहुत चिंतित हैं तुम्हारे लिए, ठीक है, मर जाएंगे हम. So this is not their intention, and this was not their intention. So that's how. If it is not visible, so it was not surprise. Okay? It was not surprise. But what was the main thing? That they wanted to check the corruption of the company. Okay? And not only the corruption of the company, in a way, when they're checking the corruption of the company, they will control the company's affair, and with the company's affair, they will further, the British Crown will further extend its rule in India. Okay? So that is the one point. Now you revise the second one. And here I will ask something which will be different. So revise 1784. Done. So now, I would like the answer from the back side of the class. So mention one of the centralizing tendency in the 1773 Act. कैमरे के पीछे, ठीक है? Yes. Yes, now you can say. No, I'm asking 1773. I didn't ask about 1784. Centralizing tendency in the 1773. Yes. Yes, good. Governor General of British India. Then what else? What else? Yes, you. Supreme Court. But we didn't define because the powers of the Supreme Court were not defined. So we cannot call it as a centralizing tendency. Then Governor General of Bengal. What? Okay. So basically, see that it is not the creation of the Governor General as a Governor General of British Indian Territory seems to be a centralizing tendency, but it was countered by when he was rendered powerless in his council. Okay? So it is nullified. The most centralizing tendency is the subservient position of the Bengal, Madras and Bombay. Okay? Then tell me the centralizing tendency in the 1784 Act. This side. Let's check from this side. This side, this bench. Yes. Very good. Exactly. What is there? Then from this side. Yeah, Board of Control is also a centralizing tendency. And when Governor General is given veto power, so that is also a centralizing tendency. Why I ask these different questions to you, there is a purpose that you need to think on these lines also. Okay? It's not always that UPSC will ask a that very straightforward questions that what you have written usi mein se pooch liya. Okay? They will compel you to think, okay? And you need to think on these lines also, okay? So please do that, and this exercise we'll do in other episodes also, okay? So now revise it, and moreover, believe me, if you are not revising these acts by today itself, let me give you some scientific methods of revising it. And online, I have seen your replies, don't worry about it. Only thing that here also we are not taking anybody's name. So your names I'm not taking, but you guys have sent the right answer. That's good. So what you need to do, the scientific method of revision, okay? Particularly in these type of the facts, first day, 24 hours. In a 24-hour, one revision. Third day, second revision. Seventh day, third revision. 15th day, fourth revision. And 1 month, fifth revision. Okay? You'll be able to remember 95% of the things in the act. 5% is always in a gray zone. Okay? So do that if you really want to master it. It will happen. Okay? Chalo, thank you for today. इसी को कंटिन्यू करेंगे, ठीक है? ये देन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कंटिन्यूड, ठीक है? क्योंकि सिविल सर्विसेज, आर्मी सब चलेगा ना.